Welcome to P3 Radio.
The monkey only dances as good as the guy grinding the organ handle.
Brother.
I fly, bro. That is never stopping.
Truck goes to Duane.
Cool story, bro.
Footy pajamas.
Hey, genius, it's 2 p.m. Central.
PG3 Radio.
Here's your host, Josh Riley,
Get him off pig, Freddy. Get him off pig.
Richard Mullican.
And as I put you down, my pants ripped.
It's showtime! It's showtime! It's showtime!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of P3 Radio. I'm Richard Mullican, joined by my co-host, a man that I didn't think of to come up with a witty tagline this week for, and best friend, Josh Brawley. Say hey, Josh.
Well, goddamn you, Richard. I'm fucking hurt in all kinds of ways.
We did everything else other than come up with a tagline. And I just didn't think of anything.
You blew it.
I realized it when I heard the monkey only dances as good as the guy grinding the organ handle. I was like, shit, I've got 20 seconds. And that was it. That was all I could come up with. So, episode 140, Josh. How's everything going over there in Quarantineville?
It's a bit boring, man.
Across the desk from me. This might be, we actually talked about it, this might be the last live show we do together across the aisle from each other.
Yeah, and, that's a bit sad because we play off of, it's easier to just look up and see when, you're done. You can kind of look at somebody and tell when they're about done, But if you're on the phone, there may be an odd pause or whatever. Yeah. So we've come up with a fucking Skype gimmick, where we can actually see each other and the sound quality isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe we'll be Skyping from this moment on. I don't know. Just depends on how the world gets, or at least our world. But, man, it's been pretty much doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Every day. It seems like from a Monday to a Friday, things have changed so drastically. You know what I mean? The range of fucked up shit.
The sky is falling Chicken Little is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if that's what I'm saying, but I'm just saying we might have to be Skyping. Are you just going to play a guitar while we're...
Well, I'm tuning it because I was going to do something.
What's preparedness, right? Guns N' Roses comes out on stage, and they just do all their fucking sound checks and shit right there in front of the crowd, right? Ladies and gentlemen, does this sound like a sharp F? Thank you.
I got this thing on my guitar that actually tunes it for me. Oh, that's not right. I went the wrong way there. But yeah, I was going to do something, but I thought it was in tune.
I'm going to say I got this thing in my pants I could be beating right now instead of this shit.
Your dick?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess. I mean, I'll turn my head. Next week you'll have that liberty if we do this show through Skype, since your laptop has no...
You're sweating. You ain't got the corona, do you? No. I've been exercising.
That sounds nice, don't it?
Yeah. All right, what are you doing?
I don't know. I just wanted to play the guitar to say that we're going to have a...
Country music singer?
Guitarist on this week. A guy that plays guitar well. I think it's already... This motherfucker's already came out of tune already. Yeah, that last E.
I wonder if he's going to play guitar on air when he gets on there.
You think he will?
Hey, guys, I was just fucking around here. Bing, bong, bing, bing, bing.
You think we could talk him into it to play guitar?
Probably not. He probably has all his shit put up.
Really?
Like a responsible person.
My A. It was my A, man. A.
Well, this week's shaping up to be pretty lame, huh?
Do you have any requests?
Yeah, you fucking break that motherfucker and let's talk.
Here we go. Tuesday's gone.
And it was about right there where half the audience pressed pause. I'll come back to this shit later. If I wanted to listen to fucking Leonard Skinner, I'd go to YouTube.
You don't want to hear some fat boy from Mammoth play it? Nah, I was gonna do something, but I can't remember what I was gonna do.
It showed.
Yeah. Episode 140, Josh.
Lame-o-mania.
So has anybody started getting cabin fever yet?
I've actually counted the dots on my ceiling 12 times.
Every
And
time I
ironically-
come up with a different number. I think somebody's fucking with me. I'm gonna have to kill somebody. That's how you go crazy.
Yeah.
In the end, I'm gonna have to kill somebody for fucking with me.
No, it usually becomes, I've got to kill that guy so my sock will turn back orange again. And it's usually the
man.
dog telling you the info.
So they've been doing this thing on. I told you this last night. They've been doing this thing on Facebook called the I Spy game. Have you've played I Spy, haven't you?
When I was like 2.
You were pretty advanced 2-year-old.
on my little eye.
Something red. What the fuck's red?
What's red?
What I'm looking at. What I spied, motherfucker. You better figure it out. No. So Facebook's doing this I Spy game now, to where they are saying like, I spy something in your camera roll that is the color black. And so it's like making people post things that are in their camera roll. And I jokingly told you last night, I was like, you know.
You want me to tell you what you told me last night?
No. I was like, if I had half the balls, you know.
Let me look up for the quote here.
Somebody should say, I spy with my eye something in your camera roll that looks like boobs.
You said, so there's this thing on Facebook going around where it says, I spy with my eye the color and insert color.
We're just reading text messages now, huh?
Show me a picture in your phone with this. I want to say so bad, I spy something that looks like boobs. Show me a pic in your phone. But I got no balls, and it's my anniversary. So double whammy. And then my reply was, might have low T. Probably from that one ball that was cut off from the rest of your body until you were like 7. Oh, my God. You said, well, I got balls. My mom made sure.
We're just going to read text messages now? Maybe I should pull up some old ones that you've sent me where you've said some colorful things.
Now, why would you use that word?
Old incriminating Josh. If you want something told, don't tell Josh. Or do tell Josh.
Oh, man.
You used to be trustworthy.
Dude, that's hilarious. That's fucking hilarious.
Do you think it would work?
What?
Maybe
Like-
put that. Do you think we could get a bunch of boobs sent to our Pop Poncho page?
I think if you beg enough, you get anything you want, really. You just got to know how to sell them into it. I've been out of the game for a while. But
It would be
I don't
funny.
feel comfortable getting back in the game.
You know, we have that thing that we talked about on the pre-show, defend this to HR. I feel like I'm going to slowly be playing the game, defend this to your wife. What do you mean by wanting to see other titties?
Now, look, I didn't say male or female.
Yeah, exactly.
Man boobs is what Richard was going for.
Take a picture of a cow udders, That's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Big fat cow titties. Big nipply cow titties.
Fat cow titties. My dog just gave birth. No, I mean, I guess you
Your
think
dog got them swole titties.
you think that you think that would be a sign that would be out on like the guy holding the cardboard sign with the dog. You think that there would be some teenager that would already thought up now, not broke, don't need money, just want to see some titties. Do you not think that would work? That would work. Somebody would pull up and be like, "All right, son, here you go."
Thank you, ma'am. You get your husband on out of here. Get him to the doctor.
Make sure your grandkids are safe back there. What are they, 14, 15 years old now? That's down your alley, isn't it?
Why y'all out roaming around with this virus? It's horrible for seniors.
What was wrong with that left one? Is that a mole or an extra nipple?
That deflated about 20 years ago, darling.
Oh, but man, you talked about us being quarantined in our house. Well, we did talk about it. I don't know if we talked about it on air or not, but yeah, we just said something about being cabin fever.
Cabin drunks, what?
Yeah. Well, you drink because you're home, and you home because you drink. It's a vicious circle. No, my neighbor, speaking of drunks, my neighbor who lives next door wakes and bakes.
Oh, yeah.
So the other day, I don't know what, she might wake up at 5 o'clock. This might be mid-afternoon for her by the time I got out there. I've been doing work meetings from home on my laptop. And I was like, well, my wife and kid are home. I'm going to go outside and do this meeting because this is the only time I have to really talk, and I don't want to wake them up.
Yeah.
I went outside to sit on my porch, and, like, I got this smell of, like, a skunk. Like almost like a skunk had sprayed. I'm like, good God. I was like, but there are no skunks around, and my neighbor's window's open, like cracked open, like smoke blowing out of it and stuff. And I'm like, Jesus. I was like, and then like all throughout the day yesterday, I have smelt nothing but like weed coming from that direction.
And you're talking about the next door where I'm pointing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Dad burn.
Yeah. So I even asked my wife, I was like, do you smell pot? Like, because the other day we were sitting out on the porch, and I was like, I just looked at her, and I was like, smoke weed every day. And she just looked at me. She's like, what? And I was like, she's like, oh, the neighbor? I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, good Lord, I smell it now, too, because it took a second because she was on the other side of the porch. She's like, I smell it now, too. Either she's got some really bad stuff or some really good stuff. Either way.
Usually indicates good.
Yeah. But I'm like, I never see her leave the house. And all I do is, like I said, 3-4 times a day, I smell. I was just like, man, it's got to be some weak shit because she's smoking up this much. Like,
well, you never know. That's a different time, Richard.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care whatever people want to do in their own house. I hate smelling it.
You say that.
I hate smelling it, though.
But my problem would be like somebody smoking meth next door to me, because you have that idea of, well, I mean, as long as it's in their house, yeah, that's fine. But I think it's, what are you doing in your house? Pot's one thing.
Yeah.
But
if you're constructing a meth lab that might blow my
not only
fucking
that,
shutters off.
But I've never had a pothead come and steal my fucking my pot holders or my flower pots and shit.
Right.
Meth heads.
Where the fuck are my ferns?
Meth heads will steal your goddamn yard furniture, dude. Like,
I had flamingos out here.
Nope.
I swear to God.
Nope. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
I would 10 times rather have a pothead living next door.
Oh yeah. I mean,
than a crackhead.
I don't mind. Like I said, let me rephrase this. I don't mind that she's smoking pot in her house. Now, would I prefer not to smell it on my porch? Yeah, probably. You ain't
gonna get a contact. You'll be all right.
No, I ain't worried about that. I just don't want to smell it. It smells bad.
I gotta fucking take a test for work, bitch.
Have you ever been to like a store and somebody that is just blazed up is like right in front of you in line, and you're like, good God.
Yeah.
God, this like just the strong odor coming off of this person. I was at Dollar Tree one time, and this guy came in. I don't know. He must have had like a joint in the car.
Yeah.
And like, I get in line, and he's already in front of me, and he's just buying like 2 things. But I'm like, good Lord. He smelled like a walking Snoop Dogg concert. Like,
well, I think a lot of times, like with that, they're smoking in confined areas. You know, if he was out in the yard or something, just letting it blow, you probably wouldn't be that upset or whatever. But like I said, man, times are changing, and it's only a matter of time before that shit's just legal everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and it should be. If alcohol is, in my opinion, if alcohol is legal, then it should be as well. Now, here's the thing. Even with my job, because I'm tested, they're going to have to change if they do make it legal, they're going to have to change the way they test in order for me to actually be able to partake.
Well, the thing, a lot of places now, like where I work, I'm not going to say the name, obviously, but where I work, our headquarters is in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And, Michigan passed the recreational law, I think, last year or something.
Really?
And I've heard they've had to tweak a little bit of their hiring practices.
Right.
And now shit, I can't say anymore. I'll get in trouble. I can't do that.
Dude, there was one time, and I can say this because I'm not working for them now. There was this one time I was going to work for Apria. Yeah. And I worked for them for like 3 months. And they told me point blank, they were like, "Hey, Richard, we got your application in. Your interview went great. If you're still interested, we're extending an offer for hire. you will come in and submit for a background check, and we're going to do fingerprinting. Now, we don't drug test. And they said it just like that. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, so you won't have to drug test, but we don't drug test here. And then they said it again in like 3 or 4 different, orientation meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
They said it again. So it was like 2 or 3 times they said this. And I'm like, why do they keep going over the fact that they don't drug test as a company? Like, are they trying to trap me here? Like, this is your time if you want to smoke up.
No. Well, ma'am, that's good you don't, because I did heroin last week. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to quit.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just, I don't know. I just, like I said, I was just very blown away by that. The fact that we don't drug test. It's like,
mind me asking why you quit that sweet job, because I know people they're making like bukudos of money working from home.
It wasn't right for me.
Working from home.
Yeah. When I was working there, I had a better job come along.
More money?
More money than what I was making there. I mean, I could have made more if I would have stayed with Apria.
That's what I'm saying.
But
there's people making like
what I value more than the money is time at home. And the job I have now gives me more time at home than any other job I could get right now for really good money.
But shit, dude, if you worked for Apria now,
I don't think I could do that job.
You would literally be at your home, so you'd have the most time at your home everywhere.
I don't think
you could be like BT, wear fucking pajamas every day.
I don't think I could do that job, man, because they gave us a grace period when we started. Like, we were answering calls and we're like, hey, how's it going? How can I help you? Well, my oxygen didn't show up. So you'd be like, all right, ma'am, let me look at that for you. And you'd look it up, and you had all these guidelines that, not a script per se, but you just had all of these guidelines of things that you were doing and saying. And you were like, well, it looks like the oxygen truck will be there Tuesday. And it's like Wednesday.
How's mama going to breathe?
That was the thing. You would have to tell them, like, well, if you're out of oxygen, we suggest you call 911 and go to the emergency room. And that would be like, and you're having to tell older people this. And I don't know if I could get sued for saying this.
If you started naming them, you could, but just talking in general, no.
But there was so many times, right, and then after a while you work there, they want you to cut that call time down. So, like, you would have to get...
All right, Granny, I get it. Fucking call 911. And then hang up.
In my opinion, let me say this. In my opinion, you would have to get more cold-hearted and callous towards these people that need a life-sustaining device. So I was just like, I can't do this, man. Like, it was a job, but it was torturous.
Almost like you had to dehumanize yourself to make it work.
And that's not. And like I couldn't do that. This is just me talking about a company that I know very little about, because I only stayed with them for like a month and a half, 2 months, maybe 3 months. I think I was there full time, but I wasn't happy there. Like, it just felt wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hours were way different. Like, I was used to going in at 7 a.m. and getting off at 3. I was now working like 9 to 5, which that made me a little unhappy. I'm like, and I didn't enjoy the job I did. I didn't want to be there anymore. You know what I mean? I was like, some people can do that job every day. I grew up around a lot of older people, and to look at an older person and tell them, like, look, you're not going to get your supplies. You need to go to the hospital. It's like, and then I'd have people call in, it's like, you're the 4th person I've talked to. I've been on hold 7 times. I've been disconnected twice. I think the call tree wasn't the best back then. In my opinion, the call tree wasn't the best. I don't want to get sued, man. In my opinion, they're not as wealthy as they used to be. In my opinion, there might be a reason why everybody's working from home now.
Yeah, that is a good indicator, I guess.
I think in the long run, everybody that I got hired in with was a huge class of people, because we had to go through this like 2-week training. The people I got hired in with, I don't know if any of them are still there. And I don't know how long after I left after 3 months. I wasn't the first person to leave, and I left after 3 months.
Damn.
Speaking of drug testing and jobs, have you ever said anything in a joking way about drugs at work? Like, just joking around. Like, for instance, one time we were at a lunch meeting, And we were all talking and stuff, and I joked. I was like, "Is it too early to order a beer?" We're on company time, but
well, I've made jokes like that a lot because I've been at my work a long time, and I went into the supervisor's office. They got a refrigerator in there, and I didn't have shit in there. I just went in there. There was a few people, and I just opened it, and I was like, "Where the fuck my beer go?" Shut it and walked out. Just,
have you ever said something that somebody took like serious about like drugs and stuff at work?
No, because I think of how outlandish shit has got with drugs at work, and not necessarily drugs at work, just people at work. Back when I first got hired on, maybe these two people that I'm talking about in particular lasted maybe, I don't know,
2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe something like that. Tops. Maybe not.
I'm sorry, I just had a text and it blew
I was
my mind.
trying to cover for you.
No, it's Duane.
Oh, okay.
But I got a new phone, so his name isn't in there. It's just a number, and I was thinking, who the fuck is supposed to be calling me right now? God damn it! And it was him. But anyways, I got hired on, and I knew of these two guys. One of them I just talked to casually,
Right.
And I lasted maybe a year or whatever, and then both of them disappeared.
Right.
And I'm thinking, where did fucking so-and-so and so-and-so go? I don't hear anything for a few days or whatever. Then all of a sudden, another person that works with us was like, "Did you hear what happened to, we'll just call him Fred?"
Right.
"Did you hear what happened to Fred?" I'm like, "No. The damn feds busted in his house. He had like 8 kilos and blah, blah, blah." And I'm thinking, this motherfucker like has almost the same job as me. And he's like booming kilos and shit. And I'm thinking, damn, okay, it's like that. You got fucking Tony Montana over here. And then the other guy that just showed up missing.
Up missing.
No, it was, he had like
I love that phrase. He just showed up missing.
It was like about like waking up dead. Anyways, I didn't see him for a while. But this dude, he had like one of them important jobs. Right. You know what I mean? He was like borderline office, And one of my Hispanic friends out there, he says, did you know what happened to, we'll just call him Jose? Said, "Did you know what happened to Jose?" It's like, "No, man, I didn't hear anything. I haven't been seeing him." "Oh yeah, he got deported. He got arrested by the feds because he was getting Fred all this cocaine from blah blah blah."
It was connected to the first guy.
Yeah.
It just took a little bit longer.
Jose was the one getting Fred all of the damn kilos.
That's funny.
And then I'm just like, damn, what place am I fucking... And it has nothing to do with my job. It was just those horrible people at my job.
I had a guy that owned a roofing company. It was a roofing company, I think it was. Maybe a construction company. And we were talking about all this stuff about, like, people getting in trouble, people, doing drugs and everything. And he's like, "Man, I had these two guys that worked for me. They fell through the roof." And I felt so, we were talking about on-the-job injuries and stuff. And then he's like, "So they fell through the roof, and yeah, I felt so bad because they got hurt, and I started paying them, doing
the right thing."
Right. He's like, "So for insurance purposes, I had to drug test them." He's like, "And they popped positive for cocaine, so I fired him on the spot. Didn't have to pay him a penny."
Right. Jackpot.
Yeah. It's like, that's the thing about these drug tests, man. If you pop a drug test, that's pretty much all she wrote.
I actually had a nurse tell me, "Did you drink a bottle of Everclear before you came in here? The percentage-wise is so fucked up. You should be in a coma right now."
Right. The reason why I ask you if anybody ever took you serious, I remember this one time. There was this one time that I was working when I first got out of my job. First got out of school, I was working at Walmart.
Yeah.
And I was just the lowly bus boy. Bus boy? our maintenance
You're a
boy.
busboy at Walmart.
Go ahead and collect
Well, I
these
didn't know they
plates.
had them.
It was tough times. I didn't get a lot of tips.
Hey, you need that buggy cleaned again?
Stock boy. Stock boy. And I'd push buggies and stuff like that. Well, I'd also do like customer carry out. So like if they had like an old lady that bought like a
70-inch TV. You think you can grab that?
Yeah, you can drive home. How many times did I hear, it'd be nice if you could just come back with me to the house and unload this for me?
While
Like,
pulling
oh,
her
yeah.
blouse down.
No. But
I'll give you an extra tip.
no, thank you, ma'am. But there was this, I can't
You're
remember.
about 10 years too young.
This cashier, I can't remember how it came up, but she just mentioned something about like partying or something. I was like, oh, I like to party. I was just joking. I said something about, I was like, somebody said something about like, I can't
Somebody
remember.
say something about fire, Dad.
Like black tar heroin, and I was joking. I can't remember the context in which I said it, but I remember it was such a way that like I knew she knew I wasn't messing around. Like she thought I wasn't messing around because she looked at me like, oh my God, this man does drugs. And like, dude, I couldn't have been the straightest laced person back in high school. Like right, 19-year-old me, 18-year-old me, right out of high school, straight lace. I didn't even do anything. I mean, I ate a lot, but I didn't do any kind of drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like for the longest time, I was like, I'm pretty sure that somebody that works here thinks that I'm like a cokehead or something.
He's all fat. Though. I don't get it.
I don't get it. I don't know how he's so fat.
So, what do you want me to tell Duane?
I tell you what, let's get him on here. But first, Josh, before we get him on here, let's do this. Let's say if you know somebody that is having
Does
a tough
cocaine
go.
at work?
No, if they're having a tough go and you need to get them some kind of drink to get them through the day, but you don't want to go to the liquor store, you don't want to go to the grocery stores, have them go and have the wine delivered to their house. They don't have to go anywhere. They can just sit right there. And every month, 2 bottles, at least, you can get more if you want it, but at least 2 bottles of high-quality wine will be shipped to their front door without them having to go anywhere. Josh, how could this be so?
Well, the Wine of the Month Club is how this is so. And the way you can get hooked up with the Wine of the Month Club is by going to tinyurl.com/P3wine. And when you do that, you're going to use our link. That just helps us out.
Yeah.
Imagine that shit. And you're going to get to the Wine of the Month Club page and see all of the wonderful deals that they got for your ass to sit on the couch and get that shit delivered right to your front door.
It's as easy as can be. Just go to tinyurl.com/P3wine. Tiny URL, tinyurl.com/P3wine. All one word, P3WINE. And that's going to take you to the Wine of the Month Club, the original wine club since 1972. Welcome back to P3 Radio. Right now, Josh, on the P3 hotline, we have one of the coolest guys I ever knew. He was the guy that always hung out with us and would dunk with us in the backyard at your grandmother's house, and never treated us like little fat kids that we were. Always hung out with us, always was really cool. And we're actually listening to some music right now, coming back of his daughter's band called the Skeleton Crew. Duane, the man that's going to get the truck. Duane, thanks for being a part of P3 Radio.
Thanks for letting me be.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, man. I have heard in passing. It's so weird seeing the video here. We're watching Skeleton Crew Blue, and it's so weird to see Cammie, this little girl that used to do the cartwheels and get in the way as me and Josh were wrestling in the living room. It's all weird to see her all grown up now.
Yeah, it's weird for me to see her that way too. She's couldn't be more proud of her though. She's doing her thing and doing it well.
So we wanted to bring you on today because you're the guy that is like my go-to Facebook defender when we talk about like wrestling, and somebody calls it fake, and I'm sitting there battling them on Facebook, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting there doing it probably 3 sheets to the wind, and then Duane comes in with logic And he's like, hey, wrestling's what, that's what I grew up on because, it fed me. And like, I'm always happy to see when Duane chips in. And for those of you that don't know, his dad was professional wrestler Danny Davis. Like I said, he is probably the most likable person in Josh's family. And for that he will get the truck when Ray J passes on to the great Southern Sky Hotel. But Josh has a few questions.
I tried to get it before. I can't talk him out of it before that.
Oh, you've actually tried to talk him.
Yeah, trying to get it now. Well, I can still enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. I mean, he just put a new motor in it from what I hear.
Okie dokie, guys. Let's move on. How you doing, Duane?
I'm all right, man.
We'll probably cut all that out. But, dude, we talked about it just a few seconds ago, but you were one of the luckiest people in our eyes growing up because you were there. Most of the time, you got to be around wrestling a lot more than we did. And, backstage, this and that at a very young age. I can't imagine being a 6-7-year-old kid getting to walk around and, oh, there's Jerry Lawler. It just, that would have really spun us for a loop back then. Is there anything, that you can think of just that stands out from being a young tyke walking backstage?
When Dad first started out, like you said, I was 6 or 7, and when I first started going back with him, and there was always me. Brian was always there. Brian Christopher, Kevin was there. Lawler, Jamie Dundee, and our babysitter was kind of Dougie Gilbert. And Jamie, he was about Dougie's age too, but yeah, they would always go get us Cokes, hot dogs, that kind of stuff. We'd stand outside the dressing room there. They wouldn't let us in necessarily in the room because, a lot of nudity and stuff, and we're little kids. So, but yeah, the best thing was, the best thing I remember was just all of us kids, being together. And Dougie still to this day, every time I see him somewhere, which is not often, but he always says, you're the only one that was smart enough not to get in this business. Because Kevin, he had a run a little bit, but he did a little bit. But yeah, the rest of them all got in the business.
Yeah, yeah. Even your dad's tag team partner at the time, Ken Wayne, who my last professional wrestling match was against Dundee and Coco, and me and my tag team partner that night was Eric Wayne. We wrestled out of high school. Nice. It was the last night I ever wrestled. It's my last match ever. And I thought it was a cool way to go out because I've always kind of forced myself into y'all's family. So it almost felt like, hey, Uncle Danny's old tag team partner's son. So it's like a second generation. Yeah. So I was trying to connect all the dots. But yeah, it always felt cool to say, hey, my last match was with Ken Wayne's son. And, I grew up idolizing Danny. So it was like, hey, we had that connection. It was a good way to go out. But you said you remember when Eric was real little.
Yeah, and I haven't seen him since then. I mean, he his mom, Cindy, actually used to babysit me when Dad and Kenny would be out of town for 3 or 4 days. We lived in the Panhandle of Florida, and, they would run Florence, Alabama. They run Birmingham Monday night, and Florence was like every other Tuesday, which that's only a couple hours from here. So there's, they didn't drive to Birmingham, drive home, drive to Florence, drive home. They'd drive to Birmingham, spend the night, go to. So anyway, with all that, I would stay with Cindy a lot, or she would come to our apartment and stay with me. But yeah, all through the pregnancy with Eric, I was kind of her partner in crime. I don't know. Everywhere we would go, people look at me like, or look at her and me like she's either too old to be having she's got a son that's too old already to be having another child, thinking that she was my mother, and then, or they would look at me like, what did he do to her?
Kind of like a teacher situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you go to jail for that now. Back then, I guess it was okay.
Yeah, back then they didn't care.
They just wrote tickets back then.
Yeah.
yeah. You just got some dirty looks, and all right, get on your way. Go home.
That's awesome. Well, you pretty much, like we said, you grew up. It pretty much, it raised you. You were raised on the wrestling business. And I
sure.
know you were around a lot of crazy stuff. And we won't ask you names because we're going to protect the innocent as much as we can. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was some crazy stories. Now, we talked about this Tiger King, and I remember saying something like, and me and Josh kind of differed on this a little bit, but I remember going, heck, if half the wrestling stories I heard was true, then, this Tiger King thing was lame. It was kind of mediocre.
I've still not watched that, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I mean, I think the quarantine has got everybody kind of a little clouded on their vision, but you've probably heard worse. Is there anything that stands out in your mind as a crazy story that you can remember from back in the days?
Yeah, probably the worst thing I ever saw, or well, I thought at the time anyway. I think it's funny as hell now, but I can't remember. We were either in Columbus, Mississippi, or Meridian. I don't remember which. We were in Mississippi. I know that. And one of the guys, well-known guy, this was the Continental Territory at that time, and he was main eventing against my dad. Match got through. Everybody leaves except for, we're all still there. Dad's in the shower. His opponent, who I'm not going to name, is in the shower. His manager, who I'm not going to name, I guess was in the shower. I don't know. And me and my stepmother used to wait kind of in the front, and he would come back and get us, and then we all walk out the back to the car, So we're standing up front by the gimmick tables and packing everything up. And Dad gets out of the shower, and he's like, "You guys ready?" So, yeah, we head out the back. Well, then the opponent and the manager come out the back, and they're all just bullshitting around. The crowd's already gone, so nobody to see anything. Kayfabe was still a really, really big deal, back then. So the other guy says, "I got to take a piss." But the door was locked. He tried to go back in. The door was already locked. So he walks around a car, starts taking a leak, still talking, over the hood, over the roof of the car, And we hear this weird laughter kind of thing. And the manager is down on his knees catching the stream of pee, and he's rubbing it in his hair. Weirdest shit I've ever seen in my life.
You won't see that on Tiger King, I promise you.
I don't think so.
Oh my god!
And from the stories I got afterwards, that's not the only time that's happened.
So you think he might have been just locking the door on purpose? Hey man, y'all gotta pee?
Could be.
Oh crap! I think I've locked the door again.
Well, damn, we can't get back in now.
Maybe you should go over here by the bushes and pee.
You gotta get over here by the other side of the car and pee here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. I've heard a lot of other weird things I didn't necessarily see. You guys know the Tojo story with Dennis and Phil?
Yes. Wait. Which one? Go ahead and tell it because there's probably some people that don't know it.
Well, I've heard this from multiples. And again, was not there. This was in Louisville, Kentucky, and I made the trip to Louisville with Dad a lot. This is when he was working in the Memphis territory, and the last time I heard it was from Cornette. I'll just tell you who it's from, but anyway. So apparently, Tojo didn't like them because they dyed their hair, bleached it blonde. Their mustaches bleached blonde, all this kind of stuff. And so he would always ask, and I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just repeating, the words that were used. But he says, Tojo's talking about these faggots with the blonde hair and the earrings and, all this stuff. So Dennis Condry, who is one of the funniest guys anyway, he's always was when I was a kid. He's a practical joker, all that stuff. So he tells Phil, he said, and he tells Cornette, he said, "Cornette, why don't you look out front when Tojo's coming back from the ring? Phil's going to get on his knees in front of me and kind of act like, he's giving me a little job there." So they agree to do this. So, and for some reason, Phil agreed to it. And so Cornette comes back and goes, he's coming. So Tojo's coming down the hallway. And about the time Phil gets on his knees, Dennis just runs his cock down his throat. Yeah, there's no pretending this is what we're going to do. And I heard there's words and blows exchanged, and
so that wasn't
there, but that's the story.
So that was probably the first Me Too in wrestling.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
There have been people that have been blackballed from like life in general for way less than that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, and they still remain friends, but somehow I don't know. You do that to me, I'm not coming around again.
Right.
Well, they formed a bond.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can find a new best man for that wedding
Yeah.
because I ain't even
That's
showing
right.
up. I'm taking the blender. I got you
you
back.
see if they got gimmick
Right,
photo appointment. Come on, Phil, get in the fucking shot. We got to sell these damn things.
Yeah.
No.
Dennis is great. Though. I never knew Dennis really until he came to Continental there, kind of towards the end of his run. He came to Continental for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Man, he
yeah.
was a nice guy.
Well, back then you heard all those stories about when he left the Midnight and then he showed up in AWA a few months later and stuff like that. Like, oh, Dennis is this,
Yeah.
Dennis is that. He's a sorry motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. You heard every fucking excuse in the book of why he
Yeah.
actually left. But, you didn't get any of the weird vibes from him. He's just totally cool guy, whatever.
He was always cool. Yeah, when I was around, and it may have been because I was young. I was probably 15 or 16. When he came into that territory.
Yeah.
I was hanging around with all the guys here and there. I mean, obviously just the nights I would go, but I would go almost every night because if I wasn't selling my dad's gimmicks, I was selling somebody's. Everybody was selling souvenirs, and Dad had some people in a few of the towns that always worked his table, and if so, I would work either Dr. Tom's table or maybe Tracy Smothers, Steve Armstrong. I'd work their table when they were doing the Southern Boys thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, always, and at that age, I didn't have any bills or anything, so I was buying guitars with everything I was making, and I mean they pay you 10%. Back then they pay me 10%. They do $400-500 a night. So I was making $40-50 at 15, 16 years old. I thought I had it made.
And that's good money in the 80s.
Hang around with these people that everybody looks up to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah. A little off topic here. Now, question here. Are you more of a bucket seats man or a bench seats man? I'm just trying to figure out what you're going to put in that Bronco when you get it.
Buckets.
Bucket
It's already
seats?
got buckets in it.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to recondition them?
I don't know. Ray J takes care of that thing, man. I might put a chain. Might get a chain
All
steering
right.
wheel or something.
All right. Guys, come on now. Come on. We're talking about wrestling here.
Well,
Not no fucking
I've
Ford
got a
Bronco.
shopping cart at jegs.com. I've got some stuff I'm going to be.
I bet you already got
I'm
air
ready.
in the fucking trailer that you're gonna fucking drive over there try to get the son of a bitch.
now, would you be
No
willing?
comment.
Yeah, would you be willing to sell the Bronco back to Josh at a reasonable price?
Define reasonable.
Market value, they're like 60, 70 grand. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know,
that's what
man.
I'm saying, yeah.
I don't see reasonable in that.
Well, then I don't either. You can't come up to market value. I don't see reasonable either.
God damn it, man.
I say hold your own, Duane, on this one.
Look,
Oh, definitely.
let's just get back to wrestling.
Hey, I've known Ray J longer than he has anyway.
Yeah.
God
I
damn.
mean, let's be honest. You are the son that Ray J wanted. You're the son everybody in that family wanted.
Rumor has it. Rumor has it.
You're the son that my mom would have wanted. I mean, let's be honest. You're the most likable guy in that family.
You guys
He's-
are too nice.
he's-
Well, Richard, you're too nice.
see my dad? You see that boy right there playing that guitar? I'm proud of him. You playing with them goddamn wrestling
He's in the
men?
truck.
Yeah.
He ain't worth
He's
a
in the
damn.
truck.
I love to give him the Bronco. Fuck.
I tell you what, Josh just touched on it when he said that guy playing the guitar. Now, we don't want to gloss over the fact that you had a pretty decent run at, the rock life and everything, and you've got
Well,
some...
let's back up.
Yeah.
Back up. Before we start talking about Ford motors and Broncos and shit. We're still wrestling. And
Oh, we can get back to wrestling.
yeah, he was plugged in Florida, man. He just said that.
Yeah.
And he got to hang around a bunch of the guys. And I remember being a really young chap and you telling a funny ass story about Boomer H. Lynch. Now, he was in the AWA as Ali Khan or something like that, a dude from Afghanistan. But he was Boomer H. Lynch in the South. And
Yep.
he's a pretty funny guy.
He was a very funny guy. I don't even remember which story I told you about him, but man, there was just always something. He
Going
lived
through a
with us for
drive-through.
at Popeyes, I think it was a chicken place. That's all I remember. And before he left, he said, "Hey kid," he always called me kid. "Hey kid, you want to go to get some chicken or what?" Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, let's go." So we were at a drive-through. I don't even remember. He ordered a bucket or whatever it was, and he probably could have ate the whole bucket himself. But I don't even know where the confrontation started. But he gets into it with the guy working or the girl working the drive-through, and he's just, "Oh, you fucking cocksucker," and he just drives away. We don't get any chicken. I think we wound up eating Chinese or something. We went somewhere else anyway. And we get back, and Dad's like, "Where's the chicken?" He's like, "Fucking cocksuckers. I get Chinese." But he was a cool guy. He really cool guy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And that building that you guys lived in, it was in Gulf Breeze, right? Like a condominium deal or
That's
something?
Right.
I went there a couple
Yeah, it
of
was like
times.
2 on the bottom, 2 on the top.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
Two apartments bottom, 2 on the top. Yeah, and then right above us, and it's actually who owns the building was Adrian Street, Exotic Adrian.
Hell
And
no.
Miss Linda. Yeah,
Oh,
It was
wow.
great, man. That guy could paint. You can't imagine the artist that guy is, man.
Josh
he
just
called me
had
up about
to
once a week.
Josh just had to change his
Come look at what
pants.
I'm painting. Oh, that guy was, man, he's a cool guy.
And
I thought one night, I don't remember where we were, but it was the night that Dad and I rode with Adrian this night and Linda. And now you guys probably remember she used to go to the ring about 10 feet in front of him, chucking down rose petals and that kind of thing, and he would skip to the ring behind her. And this guy reaches over the rail one night and just grabs a handful of Linda's ass. I mean, like, and before you could blink, Adrian's on top of the guy, and he's got his thumb about up to the first knuckle in the guy's eye. It was great.
Damn.
Guys just screaming, and Adrian's just blood's gushing, and it was great for like a 13-year-old kid to see that. Whoa, really neat. And of course, security comes around, and I'm like, oh, they're about to take Adrian away. Nah, Adrian goes onto the ring. They take the guy out. They probably worked him over a little bit too. I don't know.
I guarantee you, back in that day, they did.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to be
Yeah, that
looking
was
at
pretty
too many titties anymore, or at least in that one eye. He will.
Yeah, he'll have a really good shot at it.
Not from one eye, yeah. It was something. It was something to see.
Now we were talking. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was done. That was it.
Go. We were talking before the show came on. Josh, you said he had a story.
No, that's it. That was it. I'm going. That was it.
Oh.
Kids, go, brother.
Josh and Josh were talking before we started. Said that you had a story about Macho Man.
Yeah, Macho Man, and I got a few Macho Man stories. That guy was he was Macho Man. Like he wasn't acting out Macho Man. He was Macho Man. Like that was real life for him. But it was we were in Memphis at the Coliseum, probably 80, maybe 81. I don't know. It was early. I was 7 or 8 years old, something like that. And Dad's about mid-card. Don't even remember who he was wrestling. Doesn't matter. And I know main event was Rude and Savage going up against, I want to say it was Lawler and Dundee, but it could have been Lawler and Austin Idol. I'm not sure. Lawler and somebody. Lawler was always main event in Memphis.
Right.
And deservedly. I
Yeah.
if that came off.
No.
Yeah, he was the guy. So Dad had gone to the ring, and he had just kind of stopped by the door where those guys were, and he said, "Hey, can he hang out in here with you guys?" And yeah. So I go in and hang out, and they're playing cribbage, a little card and moving. I don't even know how to play the game, but so that's what all the guys used to play. I would see everybody playing cribbage in the dressing rooms, and I'm over there. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm a ways from them, but still in the same room. And then all of a sudden, I just hear like a lot of cussing, a lot of swearing, a lot of blows being traded, and they're just rolling around on the floor, punching each other, kicking each other, swearing at each other. And then, of course, other guys start hearing it. They all come in, they break them apart and everything. And I just started crying. It just scared me so bad, Start crying. And 7 or 8 years old, and you see these two guys you see on TV all the time, and they're slugging it out. And then, but the funniest part of that story is when Macho took that shit so serious, man. When they went to the ring for the main event, we never stayed for the main event, but for some reason we stayed that night. And I have a suspicion that we stayed because Eddie Marlin and Jerry Jarrett probably wanted all the guys to stay in case the shit spilled over again in the ring. So anyway, I know we stayed for the main event, and I know Mott stood on the apron, and Rude wrestled the whole match. Macho never tagged in. He would not tag in.
Yeah, want to hit me, huh?
Yeah, he just stayed on the apron the whole time.
It would be
Never
hilarious if we found out that was just a huge rib on you.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna get Danny's.
They put it over. I promise you, they put it over. They sold it, man.
Hey, Rick, what do you think we get Danny's kid? I won't even tag in.
That's right. I've got a buddy that lives in Tampa, and I've known him for 15 years maybe by now. And he and his father used to own a Sony showroom, TVs, home theater kind of thing. And he was going in to do an install in like a high-rise apartment place right there on the water. And he told me he got in the elevator with a lot of the gear, that he's about to install, and he goes up a few floors, and the elevator opens, and Macho gets in the elevator with him. And he said he loves wrestling. Okay, his name's Vincent. He loves wrestling. So he doesn't know what to say. He wants to break the ice, but he doesn't know what to say. And he says, I can tell he knows that I know who he is. And so he said, finally, Macho just looks at him and goes, "Are you the cable guy?" He goes, "No, we're here to install this set for, a customer." And Macho goes, "Set of what?" He said, "It's a television set." "Well, you should have fucking said that."
Oh, damn.
But I mean, that was Macho. He was Macho Man. He wasn't playing a part. He was that guy.
Yeah, we talked to Bill, and he told us the story about him jump
outside the gym.
Yeah, and having to get to his trunk and pull a gun on him. I mean, people don't understand how serious these territories were back in the day.
Oh, it was. I tell you what, even when Continental was really hot, mid to late '80s. I went to school with a lot of the guys' kids, and we didn't even talk about it with each other. You know what I mean? We weren't told that.
Right.
We just kind of saw that, or at least I wasn't told that. But I went to school with Tanya Stubbs, which is Jerry Stubbs' daughter. He was Mr. Olympia. I don't know if he worked any territory other than Continental. I never saw him anywhere but there. But I went to school with Cole, and I can't remember his older brother's name, Welch. They were Ron's son, Ron Fuller. And Cole and I had a lot of classes together, same age. I went to school with Kimberly Welch, which is Robert's daughter, Robert Fuller.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all of us were in school. We're all in school together, but we didn't. I mean, we saw each other at the matches every night, but we never. And we were friends. I mean, I don't mean it like that, but it's like we never talked about who our parents were or anything like that, because they're all heels. Like Dad was a bad guy under the mask back then. Jerry was a bad guy. Robert and Ron, they were the stud with the stud stable. They just, everybody was heel. So we didn't, everything, wrestling was so over back then that you didn't, your dad was a bad guy. You didn't want to talk about it because, you might get your ass beat.
But yeah, Tommy Rich, man.
People took it serious,
Tommy Rich was super over back then. Tommy Rich was the man.
Oh.
And, it was one of my favorite feuds, and I tell, people on the show this when we have other wrestlers on, if they ask anything about what we liked, I always say the Riches versus the Nightmares is one of my favorite feuds ever, because it was so fucking long. It lasted. It was a real feud. And people took that shit so seriously down there. I can't imagine being on the bus and if somebody found out, hey, that's one of them fucking Nightmares, kid.
Yeah. You're walking me right into it. You're walking me right to it, Josh. And you're doing that.
Well,
I went to school with this girl, and I'll say her name and if you're out there, friend me on Facebook. I think it'd be great. Her name's Karina Fisher. I haven't seen her since high school. She was, all right, back then too, Dad and Kenny were under the masks, Okay, so nobody, even if they saw my dad, and they saw my dad every day, he was laying out in the sun right there in the driveway of the apartment, but nobody knew who he was because he wrestled under the hood. So, and this girl had, I mean, you know, the yellow folder for science was, you know, I love Tommy Rich, and this is 7th grade, so probably 1986 or 7, and then the blue math folder has the Nightmares Suck written on, you know, just all this stuff. So I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to tell her anything about, you know, anything. So I don't even talk about wrestling around her. But we sit almost together on the bus. I mean, she's, you know, within a couple of seats, we talked every day on the bus. Rode to school and back, you know, the bus. She did, I did. Well, then, I mean, and every Monday after, you know, TV aired down there, just like it did here, the Memphis territory, but Continental aired on TV around noon on Saturday. So Monday, she's always got the wrestling stories, you know, that she's telling everybody how the Nightmares cheat and they suck and they shouldn't be the champions, and Tommy Rich is the best looking guy there ever was. You know, all this. It's just great. It's great. So about 3 or 4 months into this, I watched wrestling on Saturday just like everybody did. I never knew the finishes. You know, I was a little kid. You know, I'm not in the room or I'm not involved in any of that kind of talk, obviously. So I see on TV that, like, Monday night in Birmingham, we got Tommy Rich's hair going up against the Nightmares masks, and I just about shit. Please let it be Tommy Rich's hair. Please let it be Tommy Rich's hair. And Monday night when Dad comes home, it's not Tommy Rich's hair. So I know I've got until about Saturday until she sees it on TV. And sure enough, man, Monday on the bus, I can't believe your dad, you know. And, oh, man, she just fully unloads on me. And I just had to sit there and take it. I mean, what do you say, you know? And then every week after that, when Tommy and Johnny would keep the belts for a month, and then they'd hand them off to Dad and Kenny. And, you know, of course, when they handed them off to Dad and Kenny, it's always because of a chair shot or a chain out of the tights or, you know, something. And she always, you know, oh, your dad only won because he cheated. He pulled out the chair. He pulled a chain out of the tights. And that's great to think about now, though. But man, I always hated getting on that damn bus.
Well, I mean, you were constantly going to have to defend yourself against this crazy lunatic fan that was your age.
Yeah. And you know, you can't tell her that it's, you know, that's the way it works. That's just how the business works. You couldn't do that.
Right.
You know, it was real. It was still real. Those people all, you know, everybody thought it was real.
Well,
and there was no giving that away.
I'm going to be honest. Your dad was the focus of a lot of fights I had with my grandmother when I was like 12, 11 years old, because, you know, I thought it was awesome that, you know, he was who he was, and, you know, Josh and me would watch all these tapes, and we were going to be Nightmares too and all this other stuff.
That's right.
And I remember my grandmother, I got this picture. My grandmother, to know her, you would know that she was the epitome of dream killer.
Fucking Freddy Krueger.
You know, it should have been on her tombstone. Why you want to do that for? Because it was like, you would go, hey, I'm so excited about this. I don't understand why you want to do that. So I remember I got this autographed picture, this 5x7 picture from Josh. It was from Danny, and it said, you know, hey Richard, best wishes, and he had like his GWF title on and everything. I thought that was awesome, and my grandmother saw it, and she was seeing it from a fan. I don't know why you'd want that. He's lost every match I've seen him in. And I'm like, why? Why are you? It's, and you know, and back then I didn't have a way to defend it because I thought it was on the up and up. You know, so exactly. I'm like, well, he's trying his best.
He won something. He's got a belt right here.
He's got a belt on. It don't look like a belt I've seen, you know.
Yeah.
That ain't that one Lawler carries.
But, you know, we talked about crazy fans. Did you ever have any run-ins with some people that maybe not even with your dad, but just with some people that were just taking it a little too far? I know we talked to Bill, and Bill said, you know, there was an old woman an older lady that stabbed him with a nail file in his chest, you know, because he got too close to the ring.
Yeah, I never saw stuff like that. I mean, I saw some of the guys get into it with fans, but that was always over quick. I promise you. I mean, you know, everything's set up and everybody knows what's going on, but those guys can take care of themselves, man. They know how to take care of themselves.
I want to say that your dad told us a story, and you can cut me off because I don't remember the details, and if it might not be for air. So I'm just going to preface it with that, but it was about a car wreck.
Oh, you're talking about in Canada?
I don't remember where it was, but there was a car wreck with a fan it was an interactive battle.
You're talking about Canada when it was him and Bad News Allen and Cuban
Yeah,
Assassin.
that's when he was working for Stu. Yeah, I don't know much about any of that.
Okay.
He didn't. He never enlightened me on anything that happened. I was like, he and my mom were still married even when he was in Calgary, so that it was before 83, 84. So yeah, I was still young. So he never enlightened. And I don't ask him about the business. I mean, I've never asked him about the business.
Right.
You know, I just observed what I observed when I was there. I mean, it's not like I don't want to ask him about it. I just, he's retired now, and I don't want to bring it up anymore. If he doesn't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it with him.
Yeah, we were over the house one day, and I remember even when we had him on the show last year, or maybe 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, I listened. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask him so much, but you don't want to overstep. But it's like Josh told me a long time ago, because I would get these starstruck eyes, and I would like want to run over there and, hey, what was it like to wrestle so and so? And we used to dig through his closets and stuff and get in his gear and stuff. And Josh just basically let me know from an early age, it's like when he's ready to talk about it, he will tell you. And there were times when we'd be sitting around and he'd throw a gem at you, and you're like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. He was in the business long enough too. He saw a lot of things and did a lot of things. And, he's got a lot of good stories that I've heard and some that I saw even. Some of the shit he did, I got to witness. So.
You mentioned your mother, and that was one of my questions to Uncle Danny when he was on the show. But from your perspective, we just asked him, and thinking about it, being as old as we are now, and trying to convince our wives or to do, if that's what we wanted to do. You were knowledgeable enough to see what was going on at that time period, but Uncle Danny, he was maybe 26, 27 years old when he got into the business, right? Something like that.
Yeah, he was. Let me do a little math to see. He was 21 when I was born, and he was. I was 5 when he got into it. So he would have been about 26, 27.
And
right through there, depending on where in the year it fell, But yeah.
The thing about it is though, was he had a fucking cherry job. I mean, for that time period, he was a fucking manager of a store or maybe 2 stores or something like that, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was the regional thing or if it was, but I know he was managing a store, at least a store. I mean, they got absorbed by Walmart, during all. I mean, there's no telling what he could have done in retail, but he told us that he was making for that time really good money. It was guaranteed. You show up to work, you're getting this paycheck, blah blah blah. But he had said, he just had this fire inside of, I have to try to do that. Be a wrestler. And we talk about how Richard's grandmother's so old school and negative. We kind of get that was the general feeling of that back in the day, of like if you wanted to do something outlandish, like if you wanted to be a rock star or somebody that's on TV, 9 times out of 10, somebody in your family is going to be, oh, you can't do that shit or blah, blah, blah.
I told you it was hit with me with one of my aunts. First time Bill Dundee throws you around that ring, you're going to quit.
Right.
He's like, well, thanks for having faith in me.
Well, even worse, though, an even worse position to be in would be have 3 extremely young kids.
Yeah.
All under, you said you were 5, you're the oldest, and there was 2 under you.
Yeah, Sherry would have been 3. April's probably a year and a half. They're not that far apart. Sherry and April are, about 18 months or so.
Fucking babies, man. And you've got all this over your head. And, Uncle Danny and Aunt Barbara, they were really young at the time, too. How does that how does he convince, Aunt Barbara and fucking even the family? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to throw.
Granny kind of pushed him. Granny was pushing him, man. She liked the idea. Mom, I guess maybe because we were young, or maybe because she didn't oppose it, but I never saw any opposition from her.
Wow.
Now, when I do kind of remember, and there wasn't an argument or anything, but I do kind of remember her eyebrows kind of getting raised when he was like, I'm going to Calgary for 9 months to work, for Stampede Wrestling. And I remember her kind of being like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I don't remember that being an issue, but like I say, it could have been because I was 5, 6, 7 years old during all that time. They were married until I was 11.
Right.
So whatever opposition she might have had, she probably got past it a little bit at the front. But I'm, with him gone all the time and at night, when I guess, back in those days, a man's supposed to be home protecting his family or, whatever. I get, that just kind of started wearing on them both. I don't even remember it being a bad divorce until, the child support and the custody and, whatever, all that stuff came into it.
Yeah. That's what always is rung in my head. Like, I can't imagine going home right now and telling my wife, Heather, I've got an idea.
You know what?
It could be a really nice return.
You're gonna love this, baby.
It could be a really nice return, but I pretty much have to put my life and our lives on hold for at least a year.
1 in a million shot I'm going to make it.
Right. I don't think that conversation will go very well. But then again, I'm not Nightmare Danny Davis, so there we are.
Now, the funny thing about that is, Josh, I tried to pull you into the business around the same age.
Yeah.
As you actually have one match under your belt. Duane, he lost to me like he's going to lose the truck to you.
There we go again.
But I actually brought him in for a match, and the rinky-dink promotion that we were working for didn't care that I was just bringing my friend in that hadn't had much training.
Hell, I got a job offer while I was there. Hey, next month I'm going to need somebody.
I do remember feeling like incredibly intimidated because your uncle was in town. And you told him where we were going, and your grandmother was happy about it. But your uncle was staring daggers at me, like, because I was sitting there. He basically looked at me and he's like, y'all be careful. And he was looking at me because he knew that I'd been wrestling at the time. But I remember feeling like, if Josh comes back hurt, Danny's going to kill me.
It was a blast though, man. Yeah. Got it on video. I loved it. It was like a pig in shit.
I never got in the ring. I mean, other than to, run around, bounce off the ropes, and jump off the middle turnbuckle and all that shit. I never even had the desire. I mean, he always told me he didn't want me doing it, but I never even really wanted to do it. That's just it wasn't my thing. I liked it. I mean, like I say, I loved watching it back then, loved being around it, but it's just not something that ever interested me. As far as doing it for a living.
Yeah, and even to this day, it like shocks me to hear you say stuff like, kayfabe, that was work. And I mean, of course those things, but in the entire time that I have known you, you weren't Duane, Danny's son. You were just cool Duane that was Josh's cousin. We never talked about wrestling. We talked about video games, music.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
And like I said, it's just, it's a shock to me to hear you even talking about wrestling, to be honest with you.
No, I liked it, man. I did like it back in the day. It's just, like I say, it's just not something I wanted to do. I watched it. I mean, like Josh, remember, we'd watch it every Saturday, when we were over at Granny and Grandpa's house, man. We weren't going to miss it on Saturday, were we?
Yeah. Now, now I did bring it up before Josh cut me off a minute ago. Kind of like his dad's going to cut him out of the wheel for that truck. But
it's already done.
Yeah, it's like Josh doesn't know it, but that truck's already in your name.
He's like, "What wheel?" I done looked them both in the eyes and told them, "Hell." God damn.
But we were talking about it just before Josh cut me off about, you had a pretty nice musical run too. You were in a couple of bands around here. You've probably got a few rock stories as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate enough to travel around and get to play in a lot of places. Jackson wasn't a place for rock and roll back then. I mean, the people that came out supported it, but a lot of people just didn't get out. A lot of the clubs. It's not the people's fault. Just a lot of the clubs around here didn't really promote. They just let you come in, play, and drink a couple of beers and send you on your way. But we got, we lucked into, catching the eye of a guy out of Ohio who had several bands and solo artists that he managed, and he really started booking us around, and we got to play CBGB, when it was still a thing, and we played the Continental in New York, which was kind of cool because when Guns N' Roses came east, that's where they kind of broke, and it was nice. We'd go to Dallas every so often, Detroit, and Chicago. We played a lot of nice places, and I had a lot of fun. Yeah. Best thing though, if you want a story, I got a story. We're playing at the Curtain Club in Dallas. It's the first trip we'd ever made down there, and we're like second out of 4 bands, something like that. Nobody knows us, so we're playing early, and probably 100 people there. It wasn't a packed place, the time we got finished and the next band started, the club started really filling up because it was getting about 9:30. So the way the club was laid out, you had the floor, you had the stage, and then you had a balcony. But the balcony actually went around 3 sides of the building. There's a bar upstairs, same as downstairs. So we wanted to check out the next band because we'd been told that they were the best band that was going to be there that night. Even better than the band that was playing last. So we went up to get a good look. So we go up to the balcony, and we're just kind of standing there drinking Corona and coronavirus, drinking Corona. And we actually noticed this girl, walking up the steps. I'm like, whoa, check that out, So we're looking. And then our singer at the time, his name was Jimmy Harris, he elbows me, and he goes, look at that. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking, dude. He goes, no, look behind her. Like, I am looking behind her. He goes, no, look at the dude behind her. It's Vinnie Paul from Pantera. So I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. I mean, it makes sense. We're in Texas. They live there from Texas. So they come up. They, we quit looking at her. I don't want to make Vinnie mad. So they come around. They walk behind us. They go about 4 or 5 feet away from us, and they prop right up on the balcony there where we're at. So I'm like, all right, I'm about to go talk to this guy. So I get it back. I asked my drummer at the time, I said, hey, you got film in the camera? Because, we didn't have cell phone cameras. I'm talking maybe 2000, 2001, if this is, when this is happening. Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I got some pictures left. So I go down. I'm like, hey, man, love you guys. Can I please take a picture with you? And he's the nicest guy, man. He's like, yeah, come on, man. And he just wraps his arms around me. We take a picture, and then we get a picture with our singer with him, and then the camera's out of film. So it's like, but didn't want to bother him anyway. So we're like, hey. So as I'm walking away, I tell him, like, hey, I'm a guitar player. Love your brother. He was a big influence. Or, he was still alive at the time. Dime was. And if you tell it, if you see him, I know you hear this all the time, but, man, let him know he influenced a kid from Tennessee, He goes, well, hell, why don't you go tell him he's downstairs? I'm like, really?
Oh, shit.
So we're like, all right. So go downstairs. I mean, I almost ran downstairs. The other band's still playing. I mean, we're screaming at each other just to hear each other, I go downstairs, and I don't see him anywhere. I'm like, shit, man. I wonder if he, maybe he met up with some friends, he left or whatever. So we walk back upstairs, and he's sitting at the bar upstairs. Dime is. So I'm like, oh, man. So I walk over, and it's weird because, I guess I learned later they frequent this place a lot, the Curtain Club. They were there a lot. Because, nobody was, they weren't being swarmed, except by us. Because, we were from Tennessee. Everybody else down there is probably native to Texas. They were used to seeing them, I guess. So walk over, sit on the steep stool beside him. I'm like, can I buy you a drink? He goes, nope, I'll buy you one. Perfect. So he bought 7 and 7, of course. That's all he drank. And so, yeah, he bought me a drink. Bought our singer, drummer a drink, all the rest. I don't know where the other guys were. I wasn't going to look for them. I was staying right up there. And, of course, found out at that point, we didn't have any film left in the damn camera. So I got no picture with him, but got to hang out with him for about 10 minutes. And that's probably the coolest thing, in my music life that happened. That was because that guy was, I loved everything Pantera. I just thought they were the best. And,
yeah, it's always
that
awesome.
was really cool to meet those two guys.
It's always awesome when you meet somebody that's been an influence on you throughout your life, and they're just so cool.
They're not an asshole. Yeah, he was definitely not an asshole. Neither of those guys. They were both just great. They were just great, gracious, even seeming that we even knew who they were. But it's like, man, come on, everybody here knows who you are.
Yeah, I remember having the same incident with Bobby Eaton, where I just was blown away the first match that I was on the same card as him, and just the nicest guy. In fact, we worked a fair show here in Jackson together, and afterwards, without even asking him to, he just come up to me, complimented me on my match, told me how great I did in certain spots. He's like, hey, try this out next time you're giving me tips. This is a guy that's been in the business for over 30 years. It's like, man, sweetheart, man.
Yeah, I remember Bobby. He was, I didn't meet him, but a half a dozen times probably, and it was in the Memphis territory when he was still pretty young. But yeah, he was always just really nice kid, man. I say kid, I'm a lot younger than him, but he was a kid when I met him,
Right.
Yeah, and Buddy Landell, same way. I don't know if you guys met him, man. That's a cool guy, man.
Yeah,
We've heard like a lot of stories. Though.
Dundee loved him. Dundee, that was
Oh,
his.
He was great. He came up. You know how he talked. He had that bad Southern drawl. You know how he was.
Right.
He came to Continental for. I mean, he probably wasn't there 3 months. I don't know if it maybe it was. I don't know what the deal was. He wasn't there long, and he was staying with us on whatever night. I don't even I guess it was in between shows. I don't even know where he lived. He must not have lived in the area because he was staying with us, but sleeping on our fucking couch of all places. But I remember I got sick. I was real sick that night, and he was like I was getting up and going to the bed. We lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, so I'm in the hall bath half the night, just puking my guts out. I guess I ate something, or I don't know what it was. But, and he came in the bathroom there. It was like 2 a.m. Him and my dad were watching movies or something. I don't know what they were still awake. And Boomer was asleep up in the front bedroom, and I'm in there just puking. And he walks in there and he goes, "You okay?" "Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm pretty sick." He said, "Are your bowels loose?" He was asking me if my bowels were loose. Like, I guess I have diarrhea too. So I thought he said, "Are your balls loose?" See, you gotta see, I'm 13. Okay, so I don't. I'm still kind of green on a lot of these things. So I'm like feeling my balls and stuff. Like, I don't think so. And he goes, I'm just standing there in my underwear, feeling myself. And he goes, "I don't know what you're doing, but that might be why you're throwing up."
Hell no.
He was great, man. Buddy was great. I loved him.
Well, you mentioned Doug a minute ago. Did you ever have any interaction with Eddie Gilbert?
Yeah. Eddie was in Continental for probably, I don't know, the last year and a half, 2 years that it was a deal. He was great, man. Loved Eddie. And Missy, she was there. She was, of course, I was 14, 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So I loved Missy.
So have you filed a suit for carpal tunnel on her yet, or?
Nah, not yet. and now it won't happen now.
Got to find some old pictures or something.
I'm gonna sue that bitch.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
For sure. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of dealings with her. I mean, she was always there, but she was always, she wasn't around the guys a lot. She kind of was.
That ain't what I heard.
I guess rightfully. Well, later on, I think things changed a lot. Her and Eddie were pretty tight back then. I mean, they were. Yeah, she stayed. I guess she kind of just stayed off, or stayed somewhere. I don't know.
Well, that's awesome.
But see, plus, I was always in the face dressing room back then. Dad had already switched, and Eddie came in as a bad guy, so she was always in the other dressing room.
Now, I guess when he had swapped over, now what brought you back to this side of the territory? Like, because I know he was in Continental for the longest time, but eventually he came back through Memphis in the early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah, I graduated high school in '91 at Gulf Breeze, and I didn't know how bad the territory had gotten. I knew it was bad. Like he had let me know, like, I don't think I'm going to keep working down here. I didn't know, like, I'm not going to be able to work down here anymore. I didn't know it was that bad because, the company folded. But
hey, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
go.
Did he stay the whole entire time when the doors shut, or did Uncle Danny did he move on to Memphis before they actually shut down?
I really don't know, because when I got about 17, I kind of quit going. I quit watching it on TV. Yeah, I mean, I lived in Florida, man. Bikinis were everywhere.
Yeah.
You were already in bands and shit.
I wasn't watching wrestling anymore, man.
You were already in bands and shit back then, right?
What's that?
You were already in bands and shit back then, right? Even at that time.
Yeah. And we had I was in a band called Corruption, and we were just going around. We didn't play a lot of things other than covers. I mean, we had a few songs that we played of our own, but yeah, so I was kind of doing that kind of thing. I just wasn't, I wasn't playing high school baseball anymore. I wasn't going to the matches anymore. It was all about music, letting my hair grow out, and looking at girls, 17-year-old boy stuff.
That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah, I graduated in '91, and he told me I'm eventually going to be moving to Louisville. And I said, well, I'm not going to move to that hick town, which is not a hick town. Louisville's a cool place.
Right.
17, 18-year-old kid, I didn't know that. So I said, well, look, I'm gonna stay here, live away with some friends of mine, and I'm going to go to college and figure stuff out. So he was like, okay, cool. So I think I came home for the summer, home being here, Jackson, Tennessee.
Right.
And moved back down with the girl I was dating at the time. Her best friend's mother let me move in the house with them. So it was my girlfriend's best friend and her mother, and her dad was Navy. So, but he was in Saudi Arabia because that was first Gulf War, all that stuff back then. And eventually her mother left and went to Saudi Arabia as well. So 2 other of our friends moved in, and we pretty much just had the whole house to ourselves. And I stayed there for a couple years and went to college, and it just kind of got to where I didn't have any family. I had really good friends down there. I'm still friends with all those people that I lived with, and even a lot of the friends I had in high school. But you didn't have any family, and 19, 20 years old, and it's like, man, I really, really miss my dad and my mom and my grandparents, and even Josh, all that stuff. So I moved back to here. He had already moved on up to Louisville. I know he did make a stop here for a while. I think he was in Dallas for a little while even. And I know he did 6 weeks in Japan. I wouldn't say lost touch with him, but I went from seeing him every day and traveling with him 4 to 5 nights a week to, I just teenage kid, and I had stuff to do, and
yeah,
kind of didn't call him and keep up with him like I should have. He would call, but I wouldn't be home. There'd be a message on the machine. I wouldn't call back. But like I said, it was nothing ever happened.
Right.
I mean, that guy was my hero my whole life, and still is. But but after just missing the family so much, I came back to here, to Jackson, and I'm glad I did. I got a great wife, great kids, and got to spend all the time that I missed with my mom and sisters that were here, and my grandparents. My dad's parents. Josh knows. Well, you know what kind of people they were.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have moved to Louisville anyway. So
yeah, I always
and glad I did.
I always look at your grandparents as like my second set of grandparents because me and Josh were
Absolutely.
over there all the time. And there is this old saying that says, out of sight, out of mind. And if you didn't move back here, there was a risk that Ray J might not give you that Bronco.
Hey, you know what? You might have something there.
I'm gonna see how much it's gonna cost to ship it down there to Florida, boy.
Josh,
he's still getting the truck.
Josh, you ain't going to college because we're gonna have to freight that down to Duane.
Oh shit!
But man, like I said, I met you probably in like 93, 94-ish. I want to say somewhere in that.
Well, yeah, probably so. I know we moved over there when Dee and I got married in '95. We moved over there, but yeah, I already knew you before that. You and Chris, of course, and Josh. I knew Josh since he was a baby.
Since I was a rookie.
But
since he was a rookie, yeah.
Yeah, I said it before, man. Just absolutely cool guy. Like I said, you're kind of like a big brother for us because, like I said, and it wasn't one of those big brothers that we hated. It was like, hey, are we going to bother Duane if we stop by his house? And it was always that was the feeling we got. It was always, man, you were always very welcoming, really cool guy. And to hear some of these stories, man, we're gonna have to get out of here in just a second, but I know your daughter's got a really awesome band going right now. Does she have? I know right now everything's kind of on hold. Where can they can people find her music? Do you have any clue or where they could go to maybe?
They're on SoundCloud, they're on YouTube, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're everywhere you can find music, man. Skeleton Crew, and Crew is spelled with a K.
Yeah, I was really impressed, to be honest. I was looking up music because I'd seen things in passing, but I hadn't had time because usually when you had posted something, I was at work and I'm like, well, I can't play it now. And but I really started researching them lately, and I'm telling you, really, really impressive. I really like it, and it's just really weird to see Cammie so grown up and old now.
It is, yeah, it is. I'm glad to hear you like it. I think it's great, man. They do their thing, and they're both just dedicated, and that's what it takes. I know that from experience, and it takes more than dedication. You got to have the right person see you at the right time, and maybe they can do it.
Yeah. One last question here before you go, because this is just some self-maintenance stuff here on my end. 2 years ago, I tried to explain to you the premise of that show about you getting the truck and everything. We were at the fair, and I saw you. Could you tell that I was pretty plastered?
I had no idea.
Awesome. So I remember telling Josh, I was like, I just saw your cousin Duane here, and I don't know what I said to him. I was like, I was trying to explain the show, but these carnies done got me drunk up here. And
Absolutely.
I guarantee
That's
you, you're
great.
just sitting there. Why am I getting the Bronco?
yeah, I think I hugged you
Why
too.
does that happen?
Like I came up and gave you this big hug, like Duane.
Oh yeah,
Made-
but that's natural.
made
That's
it all
normal,
weird.
Man. That's every time I see you.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I think I held him for longer than 3 Mississippi. This might be a charge.
D asked me what the fuck was going on over there on the You said something about your hand on my ass too. I don't know what that was about.
Well, that's just a long-standing dream, and to go against my grandmother, I was going to follow that one.
Literally follow
Why
it.
you want to do that to it? Why you want to do that to another man, Richard?
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do that. Well, man, Duane, it's been awesome to have you on, man. We're going to have you back on, because I know that I'm going to think
I would love to, man. I would
gonna-
love to. This is great.
I'm going to think of about 20 other things that I meant to ask you.
Do it.
One other question, and then we're going to let you go. Mud tires or all-terrain on that Bronco?
Yeah, just the all-terrain, man. That's good. You never know where I'm going.
Well, Duane,
Hey,
man,
Josh, what size trailer hitch is on that? What size ball is that? I got to make sure I got the right trailer to pull all my shit
You
around.
said you were crackling up a little bit. I think you're looking for 2 balls. I don't know. I think they kind of look like mine.
That might be why he's puking. I don't know what
God.
you're doing there.
Well, absolutely awesome to talk to you, Duane. Go and check out Skeleton Crew with a K, Crew with a K. Really awesome music. The lead singer, I can't think of his name right now, but he
Hunter?
sounds Hunter. Yes,
Hunter Cross.
he sounds a lot like we were talking about it right before, Billy Corgan. He has a very Billy Corgan sound to him. It's really awesome. Go check him out. You'll like that. Duane, man, thanks again for being so awesome, being part of P3 Radio.
Man, I love you guys. Absolutely appreciate that you guys asking me to do this, and I will do it anytime.
Well, Josh, that's going to do it for us. If they want to find us on Facebook, Twitter, give us a call. How do they do that?
I thought you had forgot there for a
No,
minute.
it was just dramatic pauses.
Because it's a dramatic moment.
It's a dramatic moment.
Well, if you want to get with us on Twitter, we are
Why'd you go ransom voice?
Because it's dramatic.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to add that.
Oh, go ahead.
Now you just pissed all over it.
Oh, no, I'm
Listen,
sorry. Go ahead.
if you don't want to piss all over us and get with us and interact with us, on Twitter, we are at P3 Radio, the number 1. On Facebook, put in that search bar Pop Poncho, and you will see our photographs. And if you want to reach us the old-fashioned way, through the telephone, text message, leave us a voicemail. Might play it, you never know. Our phone number is 731-300-6675.
That's going to do it for us. Once again, big thank you to Duane Briley, the man that's going to get the Bronco. It was great hearing from him, and glad to hear he's going with all-terrain tires, keeping those bucket seats. Very, very happy. But no, it was great to hear from Duane. Thank him once again. Check out the Skeleton Crew. Once again, Skeleton Crew, K-R-E-W for Crew. Really good music there. You won't be disappointed. But that is all of our time. For Josh Brawley, this is Rich Mulligan saying thanks for listening, and good night.